Thanks to the Chamber for, again, hosting this incredible event. And in speaking of this City Council, I want to acknowledge two council members who have chosen to retire from City Council. Can you imagine wanting to do that? Both Nancy Ford and Dot Miller have left our community for a while. Nancy's going up to Wyoming, and Dot is flying off today to Guam for her next adventure with her husband, Ranger. But I want to congratulate newly elected City Council members Lisa Smith and Randy Moorman for joining the City Council and thank you everyone for re-electing John Marriott to City Council to join David Jones, Bob Pfeiffer, and myself. We worked so well. Did I miss Lauren Simpson? Oh yeah, that may have been intentional. No. We have an incredible, and I get to talk to my good friend Adam Paul all the time and get to puff out my chest a little bit. And he bemoans the fact that he doesn't quite have the synergy and unanimity of council. We may not always vote the same way, but we always work together. And we come out with consensus when we can, but we always respect each other and we disagree agreeably when we have to. Thank you to the other electeds and appointeds who have joined us here today. Thank you for being part of this community. Our city team, we have just a great team here at the city, and you'll be hearing more about that in a bit. Thanks to the residents who will be seeing this later, and to our business community who are part of what makes this so very special. And most importantly, to my wife, Luann, the First Lady of the City of Arvada. Luann, how many days do we have left in these roles that we have? 578 days. She's got the countdown on her phone. She's loving every minute of it, trust me. But Luann, when I retired, Luann said that I needed adult supervision. So she decided to retire as well from her many years of service, both in this community and others, running this Chamber of Commerce and helping building it into what it is leading up to what it is now, and also with several nonprofit organizations, and most recently the Rocky Mountain Children's Health Foundation and the Mother's Milk Bank, which have helped so many little ones in our community and others. So, Luann, thank you for your service to our community. The last State of the City that we did here last May followed a very tough year, and I got up here with my bodyguards, and we thought that the worst was behind us, and we celebrated, we beat it, we've gotten past it. Boy, were we wrong. I got to tell you, 2021 was the toughest year I have experienced in my 22 plus years as a city council member and as mayor of this incredible city. A month after last year's State of the City address, we in Arvada suffered the biggest kick in our gut that may have been one of the worst that we had ever experienced. On June 21st, 2021, we lost Officer Gordon Beasley and Good Samaritan Johnny Hurley as a result of actions of a murderous shooter here in our community. Gordon was a 19-year veteran of our police department. He was a school resource officer. He was Employee of the Year. He was loved by the students he worked with, and most importantly, he was loved by his wife and two sons. And I carry today a memorial coin of Gordon Beasley that I look at every single day, and I think about Gordon. I went to his memorial service, and then shortly thereafter, I went to the memorial service for Johnny Hurley, who died a hero. I wish I had known that man during his life. He truly prevented further bloodshed in our community, and Arvada will be forever, forever in his debt. As some who were with me know, I shed tears that day. It was a tough day, as others did as well. And I shed tears for the Hurley family, the Beasley family, our Arvada police family, our city team family, and for Old Town, and for our entire community as we suffered through that loss. And many others have been directly or indirectly affected by the events of that dark day. And I thank this Chamber of Commerce and the Arvada Resiliency Task Force. That Arvada Resiliency Task Force really helped us get through the pandemic, and they helped with the economic side of it, helping our businesses regroup and suffer and recover from that suffering. But what they did during this tragedy was that they looked at the mental health side of it. And so they didn't worry about the finances. They worried about our mental health. And so I thank them and Jefferson County Mental Health for the work that they all did to help us recover. And I want to thank those of you, and there's several in this audience, who helped me directly get through some of my very, very darkest days. Now, your city is currently working with the families of Gordon Beasley and Johnny Hurley on how best to memorialize those two fine men, and so stay tuned. We will be memorializing them. During that sad time, we at the city were also confronted with another tragedy. Just a month later, Parks employee Joy Heron died of injuries he sustained during a very sad accident while on the job. You know, these back-to-back losses impacted our community and our community team, and then on top of that, all of us, and certainly at the city as well, we were dealing with COVID, which refused to release its grip on us. We experienced both at the chamber and in the business community the reality of colleagues who were sick and some who were passing away from one variant of COVID or another. We were subjected to a return of masks and social distancing, all the things that Anthony had to deal with here at his business, and that had been plaguing us for 2+ years. The impact on our children, our schools, our families, our communities are really long-lasting. As conditions improved, mayors such as Adam Paul and I, we were hearing you. We certainly heard the frustration with the mask mandates and the social distancing, and we were constantly on the phone with our health department officials, trying to get the right balance. And our voice was finally heard and the mask mandates were finally lifted. And isn't it great to be unmasked today and to see each other's smiling faces? Fortunately, with increased vaccination rates and less severe variants and the fact that most of us have caught COVID and survived, that we saw a decline in COVID deaths in the past year. And yet, to date, we have lost more than 300 of our Arvada citizens to COVID. We grieve the losses that we have had to our colleagues and community members. And frankly, with 2021, we could have been justified to say, you know, let's take a pause. We've had enough of this. Let's not worry about economic recovery. Let's just hunker down. You know, there were times where many of us wanted to crawl under our desks and assume the fetal position. But we don't do that in Arvada. That is not the Arvada way. We picked ourselves up. That's what we do here. Through our grief, our remembrance, our anger, we developed our collaboration and our grit. We pulled ourselves up. Those of you who have put up with this speech that I've given for several years now know how much I value partnerships. And that is the secret sauce that makes Arvada so very special. You look at some of our partners, this Chamber of Commerce, our business community, the Arvada Resiliency Task Force, our faith-based community, our nonprofits, neighbors helping neighbors, our first responders. All these partners pull together each and every day to make Arvada so very special. Now, the greatest core responsibility of any city is public safety. And I am so very proud of the Arvada Police Department. Would you please join me in thanking them for what they do for us each and every day? You know, the tragedy of June 21st came on top of a national dialogue of some foolishly, and I mean that foolishly, calling for defunding of the police. And you'll recall that last year I spoke against such of a thing here in Arvada, and we will not be defunding our police. It's a difficult time to serve in law enforcement, and Arvada, like many of our surrounding communities, is experiencing a number of officers who are choosing different career paths or retiring. And who could blame them? Chief of Police Link Strait and I were on a call last week with Attorney General Wisner, in which mayors, again, Mr. Paul and myself and others, and our police chiefs, were on the call with Mr. Wisner, where we expressed our frustration with what's going on with our criminal justice system. We have a system right now, and it's not just here, it's nationwide, where when our police go to arrest folks who have committed crimes, violent crimes, it's a turnstile in the court system. They're arrested, they go in, and they're immediately released because of changes in bond requirements. The ACLU has gotten a hold, to a greater extent than is appropriate, our judicial system. And so you've got people being released who then our officers go out and rearrest for committing another crime. So we've expressed our concern, and Attorney General Wisner has agreed to look into this to a greater extent. And I am calling upon, and we have representatives here today, I'm calling upon our state Senate and our state folks down under the Golden Dome to revisit some of the policies and decisions they've made with regard to bond requirements, and please revisit that. And I'm also looking to the next sheriff in Jefferson County to make sure that we free up more beds to hold criminals, to hold people who should be properly in jail. Now, I'm not going to say from up here who I'm supporting as the next sheriff in Jefferson County. He is in the room, and feel free to come up to me afterwards, and I'll tell you who I'm supporting. You know, your city council is not just wringing its hands and standing back and saying, somebody else fix this. We recognize our role as it comes to policing. We've approved pay increases for our officers so that we remain competitive and so that we reward them for their work that they do each and every day. We've supported innovation in recruitment and training for our officers. We have encouraged the use of body-worn cameras, even though that was, thank you, legislature, an unfunded mandate that's costing us, you saw in the paper, $2.8 million to implement, about $1 million a year to keep in place. But it's important, and why I think it's important is that I think our citizens are going to see with these unfortunate situations the roles that our police officers are put in, and that they've been justified in the actions that they're taking. So it's going to be able to reinforce what they're doing, and we're getting that program put in place a year before the state mandated that we do so. We've embraced our department's use of innovation, including the use of drones, and I think we've got a little video about our drone program.
We're getting a pressure shot at 3334 in Evergreen. You guys are okay over there?
In Arvada, we began using unmanned aerial systems, or UAS, in 2017, and have continued since that time. I'm Chris Steiner. I'm a detective with the Arvada Police Department, and I'm one of our UAS pilots. When we first started flying, we've gone with a few different ideas and have made it easier and safer, especially for our tactical teams as they respond to emergency situations.
1914, we're right behind 13.
All right, 10-4.
We've also gotten much better at documenting and mapping out either crime scenes or crash scenes that allows us to quickly open roadways and get ourselves off the road, as well as make it safer for the traveling public. When we map a crime scene or a crash scene through the use of the UAS, we then import all those pictures into a program called Pix4D, which allows us to stitch all of those photographs together. Once those photographs are stitched together, then it can give us a three-dimensional point cloud of that scene, and allows us to view it from multiple different angles.
And it almost now adds as a force multiplier for us to be able to provide cover for police officers, to finish crime scenes quicker, and to get police officers back out on the road. I think the one thing that sometimes concerns our community is the fact that we may be using drones to look into backyards or look into houses or things like that. It's simply not what the program is designed for. The program is designed to operate around the same construct or constraints of the United States Constitution. So that Fourth Amendment still applies to when we have a drone. We can't overfly an area and start looking in a window or looking. We have to have search warrants, and we have to have all of the legal remedies available for the drone that we would if we were going to be doing it in person. It's like Old Town has a trick-or-treat street, and we deploy the drone safely at a distance, but it allows us to observe large crowds or large areas, and the drone flies kind of as a safety overwatch program where we can see not only the crowded areas, but we can see the areas around. So if there's a problem, we can immediately start to address it and start to deploy resources.
Despite all the challenges, our dedicated police force continues to deliver exceptional community-based service in trying times and keeps Arvada among one of the safest communities in the entire state of Colorado. We appreciate our other public safety partners, the Arvada Fire Protection District. I want to congratulate Chief Mike Piper on his appointment and really recognize the great job they just did in rebuilding Station 3. And when you drive by that, boy, talk about making it look like a vintage fire station. Congratulations on your new Station 3. We value our partnership with these professionals as we witnessed the horror at the end of the year with the Marshall Fire. We pledged to work together to address the risks of wildfires, and I want to personally thank, and Lauren Simpson, I did have you here, Lauren Simpson and Lisa Smith for their work on the gift card program for victims of the Marshall Fire. Is that an example of great neighbors? Thank you both for what you've done for our community. When we talk about public safety, we understand that the homeless challenge is one of the drivers of both increased crime and a decrease in the perception of being safe in our community, the region, and the nation. We have heard loud and clear from our business community, our residents, and our visitors, your concerns surrounding the homeless population. Now, I recognize it's not illegal to be homeless, and we try to work with our homeless. But criminal actions by homeless individuals or any individual will not be tolerated here in the city of Arvada. We're working both locally and nationally and regionally to address the homelessness issue. On a regional scope, our first emphasis is on our homeless veterans. And these are people who we're naturally sympathetic to. They're veterans, they've been through tough times, they've served us well, and so we should help them in every way we can. And we're seeing some real progress in our regional efforts as it pertains to our veteran homeless. And then beyond that, we in our cities have hired navigators to assist the homeless individuals who are willing to seek assistance. And we intend to, and we're taking steps to establish 2 navigation centers here in Jefferson County, one here in Arvada, one down in Lakewood, to be able to shelter and provide wraparound service for homeless individuals. I was at a get-together last week with Colorado Springs Mayor John Suthers, who has a very similar program that's been very successful down in Colorado Springs. So we in Arvada are going to go down to Colorado Springs, look at their program so that we can learn some of their best practices. The courts, you know these lawyers, they've made it very clear to us that we cannot just shut down homeless camps or deal with trespassing unilaterally unless we have other shelters and other facilities and other programs to assist these individuals. So that's exactly what we're going to do so that we can indeed deal better with our homeless camps and our trespassing. Now, we're also hearing loud and clear from the community that we need transitional, attainable, and affordable housing for our citizens and our workforce. We hear frequently from parents saying, "Can you help me get some housing so I can get my kid out of the basement?" We've made significant strides in this area with over 600 below-market apartments in the pipeline. And I want to thank George Thorne, who's here with us today. George is working on a project at Garrison and 58th Avenue, and he's been a champion for below-market apartments, for working with CASA and things of that nature, to make sure that, that we do have housing. And so we have many developers who are helping us in this arena. Beyond that, Arvada has always had a special sense of community. And it's great to see a return of our local festivals. We had the Kite Festival last weekend. I felt like Charlie Brown out there. Yeah, man, I had string wrapped around me. I got 8 grandkids there. I'm trying to be super grandpa, right? Trying to get the kites up, and first it was too calm, and then it was about right. We got some, hey, I'm looking pretty good. Getting some kites up, and then the gale force winds hit. I think we lost 6 out of the 8 kites, but the kids all had a great time, and the community had a great time. And I thank our Festivals Commission for putting together such great festivals for our community. And it's just part of what makes Arvada so very, very special. You know, a vibrant community also supports the arts. This past year, we welcomed Babe Walls to our community. You know, we've all had problems with graffiti on some of our walls and things, and Babe Walls came in, and taggers don't tag murals. And the creative, delightful, and challenging art that resulted from their work did not disappoint. Let's see what Babe Walls looks like here in Arvada.
Babe Walls is a mural festival of women and non-binary artists. It's here in Arvada, and it really supports the local mural community.
Traditionally, I'm a painter, so this is my first mural actually. Me and Jonna, anyway.
Yeah, they paired us up. What I was told is like they based it off of our art styles, and so when I got her name, I looked her up and I was like, hell yeah, I'm really excited to work with Coco.
I was really stoked because I had just seen her art like 2 weeks before we got partnered up, and I was so excited. We got an incredible design made by her.
A lot of my work is pretty heavy on feminism, and when I knew that we were going to do a long, wide wall, I had just gotten the idea of a Vitruvian woman, but something to make it different was like adding color and kind of just expressing how much depth there is in women and non-binary people, and just kind of make it a little out of the norm.
The Arvada Arts and Culture Commission, one of our goals is to have something artful or an artful experience within a 10-minute walking distance of every resident.
To get more art on the walls here in Arvada, and last year was in Westminster, is really exciting.
I mean, I love seeing that like this kind of festival and art is getting brought out into more of like the suburbs of Denver. So I'm excited to see how Arvada develops over the next few years with all the art that's going up.
The Arvada Arts and Culture Commission and just me personally are so excited to have Babe Walls here in Arvada.
It's amazing to be a part of this festival that really supports those artists who traditionally are underserved and underpaid.
To work with this many artists and like everyone is just super supportive and uplifting and easy to get along with. It's been the highlight of my summer so far, so I'm just grateful to be a part of it and that they picked me.
It's been a great project. Speaking of the arts, the Arvada Center has rebounded well from the pandemic with energetic shows like Kinky Boots and a very successful, raising $240,000 gala. And I think that's a lot because Lauren and I and John Marriott and Mr. Mormon, and I think the rest of the city council too, is going to help host a couple of dinners, and they raised a lot of money, thinking that, you know, if these guys can cook, it ought to be worth paying to come see. One of our important partners is the Apex Parks and Recreation District. We mourned with them the untimely death of Executive Director Lori Dan Miller, but we congratulate Jeff Glynn, who's here today, as the best person to pick up the pieces and move forward. Jeff, you're going to do a great job. Our relationship with Apex is transitioning to better serve our mutual customers. And then we have both Apex and our partners with Jefferson County Schools working with us at the city on the replacement of Myers Pool, which is more than 40 years old and way past its useful life. This will be a state-of-the-art facility that our community and competitive swimmers will be able to enjoy for decades to come. Much of the success of our vibrant community and neighborhood division has occurred during the 40-year tenure of Gordon Ruzick, who's recently retired, and we'll be honoring him here at the city in a couple of weeks. We thank him for his service and welcome Dr. Anessa Jane as his successor, who will be doing a great job. This year also brings the 25th anniversary of the Majestic View Nature Center, a great asset for the young and old alike, a great place to go visit. Many of you joined in Old Town this past Christmas season for the annual tree lighting ceremony. It's a great event every year. Lauren Simpson and John Marriott handled it in my absence this year, and maybe that was a sign of what was going to happen, because typical with 2021, our iconic Christmas tree got taken out in a windstorm, and we knew that tree was going to go, and frankly, I'm really glad that the windstorm took it out instead of your city council doing it, and then the citizens going, look what they did. You know, we would have had people, chain themselves to the tree. But we're committed to plant another 30-foot tree there so that we can replace that loss, and we look forward to future tree lighting ceremonies for decades to come. Our work in Old Town includes making the street closures semi-permanent, and some of us hope eventually totally permanent. Let's see what we're doing with the Old Town improvements.
3, 2, 1. Yay!
The Old Town street closures are a really exciting opportunity. It was something that was born out of the pandemic, but looking at the glass being half full, in every type of challenge there is opportunity, and this is one of those instances.
Really what our goal was to give the businesses as much room as they needed outside, knowing that they were going to have limited capacity inside. It was definitely a benefit for the bars and restaurants, but at the same time, we were seeing increased foot traffic for the retailers as well, which we knew was important for their businesses.
Because it was so popular, the community really asked for us to make it more permanent. And so we have moved forward with the Old Town street closures and making it more permanent over the next 5 years or so. And this will give us the time to both study it and have community conversations about what the future of Old Town is going to look like. We'll have a good understanding of what's working really well and what things do we need to tweak so that in the future, if we want to continue on with these closures and turn it into a true pedestrian mall, what are those types of things that we need to do and what are the investments that we need to make? As part of the features of the Old Town street closures, what we've been able to do is reutilize the street area for the outside dining area and less of the sidewalks. The sidewalks are ADA access in Old Town, and so it's important to make those clear. The medians were specifically designed so that first responders could still enter into the closure area. Turning radiuses were looked at, all sorts of design features were looked at to ensure that there was still emergency access.
Part of our efforts with the Old Town temporary closure as well as the semi-permanent closure was the use of modular type devices that are surface mounted. As a result, the roadway can be reversed in the future. Before we make a big commitment and a huge investment, in the future, when we do come back to Old Town, we'll take the lessons that we've learned from this particular design and apply it to a permanent pedestrian mall if that's a direction that we decide to head.
The city has taken a lead role in the transformation of the Old Town street closures. However, we've done it with communication with the Business Improvement District, the surrounding community, and the community at large. all of which have shown support for the closures.
The bid couldn't do what we do without the city's support. They've just been a great financial contributor to the bid over the years as well with city matches. And so nothing that we do is really possible without their support.
There is so much going on in this area of Arvada. There's the Ralston Road improvements, there's the Garrison Street Paseo that's going to be starting in the next year or so, there's the trolley that's going to be located in Old Town, and then there are the Old Town street closures, in addition to any number of other small improvements that are going on in the area. It's really an exciting time to see all the investment that's going on, and I just know that Arvada is transforming so much to make this an active and vibrant area of our community and an area that we are so proud of.
Old Town's always been such a special place, and our work now will make it even better for decades to come. Your city council and your city team recognize the importance of economic development. We are engaged in long-term planning to balance potential projects and community needs and concerns. You may have heard that last year we had a little company wanting to do a little distribution center, something called Amazon, that they wanted to do on the west side of Arvada. We heard a little bit of rumblings from our public and our community about that project. And we conducted very long and very detailed and open public hearings and processes to make sure that we really knew what was going to happen with that type of project. And in spite of those who think that your city council and your mayor are in the hands of the development community, and I see some really nice developers out here, I got to tell you, we're not in their pockets. And we on council keep saying, when are those checks supposed to be rolling in? They don't, because we truly care about what's best for the community. And projects that should be approved get approved. And your city council ultimately decided that the Amazon project just didn't fit. And so that shows that we do listen to our citizens and that we do consider what's best for our community. Now, while that project did not move forward, I'm happy to report that there's many projects that have moved forward in our city. And we've had some great new openings and expansions, such as Barbara Nichols, which is a true jewel to our community, and an award winner in the aerospace industry, has expanded. And we just did a ribbon cutting for Moog Space and Defense, which, as Tracy Kraft-Tharp will acknowledge, we stole from the county and incorporated into the city of Arvada. And it's great to have those kinds of businesses right here in Arvada. We currently have 105 development projects in the queue, which is a record. And I'd love to make some announcements. There's some things that are potentially in the pipeline that I would love to announce up here today. I'd like to be able to say, we're opening, and we're going to open. But our city attorney, damn attorneys, the city attorney kind of made me tie my tongue and try to behave, which is hard for any city attorney to do with me. But I can't announce those yet, but we've got some great ones in the pipeline. We have several great new restaurants, and one of the joys I get to experience is all of the ribbon cuttings we do in conjunction with the Chamber of Commerce. During the pandemic, Arvada businesses lost nearly 3,500 jobs, but I'm happy to report all of those job losses have been recovered. I'm also very proud of our Arvada Economic Development Association, which works every day to attract new businesses while also focusing on retaining and expanding our current businesses. Another important partner is the Arvada Urban Renewal Authority. We have several of their board members here today. This is a non-paid board that cares so much about this community and puts so much time and effort into urban renewal. Now, I fully expect my tombstone to make some reference to a $30 land deal. I know it and I own it. That $30 land deal is resulting in a transit-oriented apartment complex, a Marriott Residence Inn, and needed retail and restaurant opportunities, and these I can talk about: Smashburger, Snooze, Perry's Pizza, and Cava will all be part of that development. And so we're so excited about that, and by contributing the land, the $30 land deal, Over $145 million in private dollars are being put into our community. I thank Bill Mosier and his team for that. And we are so thrilled that we will be generating about $7 million from the people who live in this area on an annual basis to be able to support our economy, and the use and sales tax dollars that this generates definitely justifies that $30 land deal. Aura is also contributing to our efforts to provide more attainable housing through people like George Thorne, our shopping and restaurant choices, beautification along Ralston Road, and connectivity with the Garrison Paseo project, which you just saw. Urban Renewal is also overseeing 8 multi-use projects in the Ralston Creek area with over $200 million in private capital investment. Speaking of Ralston Road, and that's, I think I support the Broncos, but I have to wear this orange jacket anytime I'm on Ralston Road right now, just to be safe. Thank you all for your patience as we work on phase 2 of this citizen-initiated and approved project. The improvements already made in phase 1 between Old Wadsworth and Wadsworth Bypass are impressive, and the second phase, scheduled to be completed in 2023, will be just as important in terms of safety and movement of traffic. Our other major road project is 72nd Avenue, which is well underway, and we've got a little update for you here on that.
We are excited to announce that the 2018 voter-approved 3F bond project for West 72nd Avenue continues to make significant progress and will be entering Phase 2 construction this spring. Phase 2 construction work from Swadley Court to Oak Street will include adding temporary pavement on the north side of West 72nd Avenue. After that is complete, westbound traffic will shift to the temporary lanes, while eastbound traffic continues to use the existing roadway. This phase will also include installing new storm sewer, curb, gutter, and sidewalks on the south side of the roadway before shifting to the roadway work on the north side. The West 72nd Avenue project will upgrade signalized intersections, improve utilities and drainage conditions, add an additional vehicle lane in both directions, and provide dedicated bicycle and pedestrian facilities in both directions between Kipling Street and Sim Street. In Phase 3, the project will replace the existing at-grade railroad crossing with an underpass. We want our community to be aware of the impacts and where this work will occur so you can plan accordingly and be safe. Work will occur between the hours of 7 a.m. and 5 p.m. Monday through Friday. If any weekend work occurs, we will send out advance notification so you can plan your trip accordingly. Be sure to visit the project website and sign up for email updates to stay informed as the project continues. The timeline for Phase 2 will be complete by the end of 2023. We want to remind our community that this schedule is subject to change due to unforeseen delays such as weather conditions. The project team will share an updated schedule when delays occur so you can plan your trip accordingly. Phase 3 will address Oak Street to Kipling Street, including the railroad underpass. This phase is currently scheduled to begin construction in the fall of 2022. Stay tuned for more information on this phase as this project progresses to successful completion. Remember, the source is your resource. Learn more and stay up to date about this project by scanning the QR code on your screen, visiting our project website, calling our hotline, emailing us, or signing up for email updates. Thank you again for voting to invest in the future of Arvada's infrastructure.
We continue to increase our expenditures on our existing roadways and developing new technologies to resurface our roads and extend their useful life. Now we know and we recognize that we have accessibility issues, and we continue to develop our ADA transition plan to address those. We've put much work into master planning for our water, wastewater, and stormwater systems. Our excellent teams have put forward plans to address our water, storm, and wastewater needs for decades to come. I am so thrilled that Gross Reservoir Expansion Project is finally under construction and moving forward. which will provide Arvada the water we need for full buildup. I was recently up there, and we'll look at a segment that we did that talks about Gross Reservoir.
Arvada gets its water from a number of different locations. What are some of those locations?
Well, about 75% of our water supply comes from right here behind you. That's the Gross Reservoir system. It's Denver Waters manages that system. Water comes from the western slope and through the Moffett Tunnel and through Boulder Creek here, and we take it and divert it into our Arvada Reservoir, into our treatment plants. Again, that's about 75% of our supply. The other 25% is much more local to Arvada. So it's from the Clear Creek Basin out of Golden. Some of it's from Ralston Creek right in town. You might have seen as you're driving through town, the roads crisscross some irrigation ditches. For the Church Ditch, you might see some signs around town for the Church Ditch or the Farmers Highline Canal, or the Croak Canal, which is part of the Farmers Reservoir and Irrigation Company. Those are all actually water supply canals.
There's 4 segments on this. Feel free to go to YouTube and see the other segments that are part of what we're doing with regard to water. And I really needed to move on because that while we have the water to meet our needs, it's always important to conserve water. And how do we conserve water here in Arvada? We shower with a friend. You know, I think that's going to end up on my tombstone too. Sustainability is not just a catchphrase. It's part of the city's strategy for maintaining organizational and service effectiveness. The city's waste and recycling program will continue to improve our community's recycling rates and reduce truck traffic. I thank the community for your cooperation while we made this transition to a single hauler system. We continue to work with Excel and our other partners to make our buildings more efficient. And we've encouraged charging stations for electric vehicles, and I've been to a ribbon cutting for one of those, and explore how the city fleet changes in the future. Like many of you, we're addressing the opportunity and challenges of a hybrid work schedule for our employees. And that ties into the work our information technology team is doing to seek greater efficiencies while guarding against cybersecurity attacks. Through it all, the city's financial position continues to be very strong. Our reserves are solid, and we weathered the storm of the pandemic better than many. For the 38th consecutive year, the finance team was recognized for excellence in financial reporting from the Government Finance Officers Association. We have an exemplary workforce here at the city, led by our city manager, Mark Devon. Today marks the last time Mark Devon and his wife Shelley are going to have to endure my State of the City address and my jokes as city manager, as he will be retiring in October. Mark has done an incredible job as our manager. John Marriott and Luann and I went up this week to the County and City Managers Association annual meeting, where Mark was surprised but appropriately received the Lifetime Achievement Award from that association for his work for our city and cities that he worked for before, his lifetime achievement as a city manager. While we're so very sorry to see Mark go, we're grateful for all he has done. Will you join me in thanking Mark Devon? One of the best things Mark has done as manager, besides putting up with me, has been that he has created a very strong bench with Deputy City Manager Lori Gillis, Anessa Janes in her new role, and we congratulate Linda Haley in her new role as the second Deputy City Manager, and Gabriella Balmer as our new Human Resources Director. Mark, you've put together a great team. You're going to leave us in great shape. Our next city manager may certainly be an internal candidate. However, we will be undertaking a national search for Mark's replacement to make sure whoever's selected, near or far, is the best fit and allow for a seamless transition. A year ago, it would have been hard to imagine a more difficult year than 2020. But that's what we got in 2021. We got a more difficult year. But because of all your work, and because of our partnerships, and because Arvada is Arvada, the state of your city is stronger than ever. And for that, I want to thank each and every one of you for what you do each and every day to make Arvada the special place that we call home. Thank you all.